Hello students, I am Renu Matthew, Assistant Professor, MC Department, IICMR Pune.
Today, let us discuss the topic risk management. Before learning the concept, let us recall any one mega event of our lives and figure out two things that went right and why. You might have purchased a motorbike for yourself. Let us take that as an example. While purchasing a bike, you probably will call up your best friend and say, "Hey Ravi, I intend to buy the bike that you have. Could you tell me your experience? Are you happy with it?" He will start explaining to you the pros and cons of the bike. He may tell you that the feel of the bike is good. Maybe he's not happy with the mileage. So maybe you will again go and ask another friend. To be a bit more content after your friend's insight, you will go to father of all universities, that is the Google Baba that they call, and do the best possible research before you finally decide to buy the bike. Let's take another scenario. You have a marriage fixed at your home. It could be your brother's or your sister's marriage. I'm talking about an arranged marriage where before you fix a marriage, you try to gather as much information about the boy or the girl's family. You ask people who know them, inquired through common friends. Over the course of your inquiry, you came to know that the boy's mother or father is a kind of a strict person. So you find ways and means to keep them happy and see that you are at low risk of getting a piece of their mind. What we have done is that we identified the risk and managed it. All of us have been practicing risk management ever since we are born. It is just that we did not realize it or we are ignorant to it. The best risk managers we have seen in our lives is the mother of the house. You might have observed your mother taking out money from the rice jar in the last week of a month to pay for the groceries. This is her way of managing risk from the reserves kept aside. So let's learn what is risk. Are risks good, bad, or both, and how risk should be managed? Let us begin with analyzing what is our attitude towards risk in specific as individuals and as in Let us begin with analyzing what is our attitude towards risk in specific as individuals as well as in general as a society. What comes to our mind when you hear someone saying risk? Is it that, let me understand, or something might be good or something bad? Or is it that you get panic? So the views will be different for different people. Now let's consider what is our attitude towards risk, whether we are casual, serious, or situation based. These pictures depict some life-threatening events that has affected our lives. COVID-19, which we are facing and fighting at present, war between countries, natural calamities like earthquake and flood, and road accidents. All these events have inherent risk associated with it. Some of these have happened because of our greediness and negligence. What is our attitude towards these risks? Law and safety, what's that? Are we following social distancing? We have that chalta hai, kuch nahi hota attitude. Now let's see what is the cost we have to pay for not managing risk. For example, in the case of a project, delay in project completion, cost overrun, loss of reputation, losing the trust of people, and communication gap can be also a result. So we understand something went wrong, right? Acknowledging the problem is half the solution. Does it mean that if we manage well all known risks proactively, is success assured 100%? To find the answer, let's first learn what is risk and then what risk management is. Any activity, if we consider, is subject to some risks, whether it is driving to work or attempting to develop a new product for sale to a customer. According to the Project Management Book of Knowledge Guide, risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on a project's objective. The key element of this definition is that the effect of the uncertainty, if it occurs, may be positive or negative on the objectives of the planned endeavor. It is clear that dealing with risk calls for dealing with two factors: uncertainty, the probability or possibility of something going wrong in future, and the influence of it, that is, the perceived impact, whether negative or positive. So how do we challenge it? The answer lies in managing risk. The 6 phases of risk management are risk management planning, risk identification, qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis, risk response planning, and risk monitoring and control. All these phases are iterative in nature. The main aim behind risk management is protection of project objectives. The first phase is risk management planning. The inputs to this phase are enterprise environmental factors, organizational process assets, project scope statement, and project management plan prepared. Planning meetings are conducted and analysis is done, and as a result, the risk management plan is prepared, which contains risk methodology, which covers the how of risk management. It defines the methods and tools in project risk management activities and the sources from where we will get the data. Roles and responsibilities defines the roles and responsibilities for everyone who will be involved in risk management activities. Budgeting information covers the financial aspect of the risk management activities in the project. Timing information covers the timing or schedule aspect of the risk management activities in the project. That is, it explains when the risk management activities will happen in the project. Risk categories section explains all the risk categories that will be used in the project. It could also contain some rationalization or justification behind the selection of these categories. This is done to ensure consistency across the project. The risk breakdown structure is a common way of depicting the risk categories. It is a list that categorizes and subcategorize where risk may arise in the project in a chart format. Definition of risk probability and impact. This section defines the risk probability and impact using a scale or a rating system. The probability and impact matrix is used to prioritize risk and to determine which risk requires a response. This will serve as a lookup table that combines both the probability and impact rating so that risk can be rated in a consistent manner. Revised stakeholder risk tolerances. This section defines the updated risk tolerance levels of all the project stakeholders. This will be the baseline, that is a reference point, based on which project managers will handle risk in the project. Reporting formats. This section of the plan defines how risk activities will be documented, analyzed, and shared with all appropriate stakeholders. Most organizations have a format in which this information is shared. Usually it is called as a risk register. Risk tracking information. This section describes how the risk activities will be recorded with the project as well as how the lessons learned will be documented. This section also contains information on how risk-related processes will be audited. Once the risk management plan is defined, risk identification process starts. The output from the process is a risk register, which takes in enterprise environmental factors, organizational process assets, project scope statement, project management plan, and the risk management plan as inputs. The techniques used for identifying risk are review method and information gathering techniques like brainstorming, Delphi technique, interviewing, root cause identification, and SWOT analysis. Brainstorming technique encourages everyone on a project team to participate. It can result in a greater sense of project risk ownership and a team committed to manage risk for the duration of the project. Delphi technique is used where each individual involved are experts in risk, cost, schedule forecasting who exchange views, and then each individually submits estimates and assumptions to an analyst who reviews all the data received and issues a summary report. SWOT analysis identifies any opportunities for the project that arise from organizational strengths and weaknesses. This technique is particularly useful for identifying internally generated risk arising from within the organization. The sources of risk identification can be from previous experiences of the organization, from check sheets, historical records, from experts, and industry benchmarks. We can collect risk from present project, from project assumptions, estimation, project charter, and scope statement. We can also collect risk through brainstorming and scenario planning. It is not possible to have all the methods due to project constraints. So ABC analysis, that is assumptions, brainstorming, and check sheets, if employed, should give a good result. If the risks are known, it will be easy to manage those through contingency reserves. If the risks are unknown, which have never surfaced, then it requires to be monitored and will require management reserves to manage it. Primary risks are those risks which are impediments to the project objectives. Example, budget risk, resource risk, technology risk, etc. Secondary risks are those risks that arise as a direct outcome of implementing a risk response. For example, to protect against COVID, PPE kit is made now, and this will result in a plastic risk in the future. Residual risks are the risks left over, the minor risks that remain. Residual risks are acceptable to the organization's risk tolerance level. Example, a permanent damage left for the world after COVID can be a permanent lung damage among people. Diagramming techniques used can be the cost and effect diagrams, which is also called as the fishbone diagram, which represents the causes and effects. For example, insufficient resources like man, material, bad system specification, mistakes in project activity prioritization because of which critical activities are not identified will lead to late product delivery. So this diagram represents all the causes and its effect on a project. In qualitative analysis phase, we evaluate the likelihood and potential impact of project risk. It provides a framework for ranking risk according to the level of threat they pose. Qualitative risk analysis describes risk in subjective relative terms. The first step in qualitative analysis is identifying potential risks to your project. Types of risk considered are technical risk, external risk like risk arising out of procurement management issues, organizational risks such as budget constraints, capacity limits, and interdepartmental conflict, project management risks such as delayed approvals, loss of a key project team member, or scope creep. After identification comes estimating probability. Likelihood or probability is the extent to which the risk effects are likely to occur, generally defined on a 5-level scale. Let's say 1 stands for rare, 2 for infrequent, 3 for occasional, 4 for frequent, and 5 for imminent. Probability estimation is followed by potential impact estimation, where impact analysis is performed. The consequence of a risk is defined in terms of a discrete scale. Either a 5-point scale where 1 represents very low impact, 2 for low, 3 for moderate, 4 for high, and 5 for critical, or a simple 3-level scale where impact is represented as low, medium, or high. Once the impact is estimated, risk matrix is created for risk ranking, which is also called as severity table or heat map. It is a matrix used during risk assessment to define the level of risk by considering the category of likelihood against the category of consequence severity. This is a simple mechanism to increase visibility of risk and assess management decision making. Here, the x-axis depicts the impact and y-axis depicts the probability. For example, if the likelihood of a risk occurring is occasional and its impact is moderate, then the risk will be ranked moderate. Similarly, if the likelihood is critical and the impact is imminent, then the risk will be ranked critical. In a study by Roger Graves, he has identified cost, schedule, functionality, and quality as the most common risk factors of any project. For example, if the cost of completing the project task differs from the estimated cost significantly, then project cost increases. If critical tasks are not identified, then it may lead to schedule slippage and project deliverables can be late. Likewise, if functionality is implemented incorrectly, performance or capability provided by the project deliverables is reduced. Quantitative risk assessment on projects are less common, often because insufficient data about the projects are available to perform the assessment. In some cases, the effort required to perform the QRA may be more than the total project value, so the project team may decide against it. The purpose of a QRA is to translate the probability and impact of a risk into a measurable quantity. For quantifying, heuristic methods, probability distribution method like Monte Carlo simulation, mathematical modeling like artificial neural networks, fuzzy sets, empirical methods like regression is employed. The output of quantitative analysis is an updation in risk register with root causes identified. The qualitative analysis or the quantitative analysis is followed by risk response planning. The input for risk response planning are risk management plan and risk register or log, which shows the risk severity and ranking, and the output from the phase are updated risk register, updated project management plan, risk-related contractual agreements based on the risk response strategy adopted. The strategies for managing positive risk are exploit, share, enhance, or risk acceptance, for the project benefit. The strategies for managing negative risk or threats are avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept. Risk strategy is applied on the basis of the risk exposure. Avoid and mitigation strategies are usually effective for critical risk where risk exposure is more than risk threshold agreed for the project, while transfer and accept are usually good strategies for less critical threats. Risk avoidance is a risk response strategy whereby the project team acts to overcome the threat or protect the project from its impact. It generally calls for altering the project management plan. Risk mitigation is a risk response strategy where the project team acts to reduce the probability of occurrence or impact of a risk. Risk mitigation is a risk response strategy whereby the project team acts to reduce the probability of occurrence or impact of a risk. Risk transference is a risk response strategy whereby the project team shifts the impact of a threat to a third party together with ownership of the response. Like a project, quality threat can be transferred by outsourcing testing efforts to another organization. Risk acceptance is a risk response strategy whereby the project team decides to acknowledge the risk and not take any action unless the risk occurs. Risk monitoring and control is a process of identifying, analyzing, and planning for newly discovered risk and managing identified risk. Throughout the process, the risk owners track identified risk, reveal new risk, implement risk response plan, and gauge the risk response plan's effectiveness. So the inputs are risk management plan, risk register, approved change request, work performance information, and performance reports. The outputs are updated risk register, recommended preventive or corrective actions, updation in organization process assets, and updation in project management plan. By identifying and managing a comprehensive list of project risks, unpleasant surprises and barriers can be reduced and golden opportunities can be discovered. The risk management process also helps to resolve problems when they occur because those problems have been envisaged and plans to treat them have been already in place. This makes for happier, less stressed project teams and stakeholders. The end result is that you minimize the impacts of project threats and capture the opportunities that occur. From all these, we understand that risk management is an indispensable chunk of project management. With this, we come to the end of this lecture. Stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Thank you.